So now that I've done the cat update, let's talk about clown world. Craziness, dumpster fire, whatever you want to call it. I cannot believe we live in a world, in a timeline, where this schlub president's schlubbier son can conceivably be this sloppy. And if it wasn't him, it was somebody else. Now I was watching Timcast IRL last night, and they're talking about, well, but the security at the White House, you can't just bring a bag of cocaine into the White House. Well, actually, there's a lot of places where the security guards are just kind of overwhelmed, and they're like, okay, does anybody look violent? I don't think they're searching everybody's pockets. So getting a baggie in, probably not that hard. But the fact that it was found in a fairly secure area, a workspace that only government employees and First Family would ever go to, and that there was a visit by the First Family that weekend. Like, what the hell, And then on top of that, looking at France, the riots they're having there, spreading into Belgium and other countries. The Dutch farmers are back to their protests against the climate change regulations that are going to completely destroy agriculture in Europe. The whole goal seems to be that great reset, and it seems like that's actually working, because that's what is going on right now. Everybody is trashing it. Doesn't matter what anybody does, the society is going to collapse. And of course, then on top of that, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can't trust as being valid information coming around about stuff that's going on. But what does seem to be valid information about it is that the majority of the actual rioters in France are immigrants, and that the anger that they're expressing pertains to the gunning down of a young boy that was a habitual car thief, also himself a refugee immigrant, and that the cops had been trying to stop this kid from joyriding people's cars for a while. No idea what caused them to shoot him, if it was what's his name, Dante Wright kind of situation where, he was armed, nobody knew that he was armed except for the cops. The cops, you could have that accidentally use the gun instead of the taser thing, like who knows. But they're trying to make this out to be like the George Floyd thing. And in much the same way as the George Floyd thing, the person who died was no saint. So, yeah, it just seems like another big manufactured hoopla that is completely destroying the social and economic fabric of France and spreading to other parts of Europe. Meanwhile, I'm watching my wrestling on TBS and TNT, and they're advertising this Miracle Workers End Time show, which is like, I don't know what the premise of it is, other than they take the modern everyday lifestyle and then put it into Mad Max. But something like that is coming very soon in Europe. Last week we had that sunspot that was naked eye visible. At the moment, turning around to face the Earth side is an even bigger one. Southern Hemisphere, approximate location of the Great Red Spot on Jupiter, but on the Sun. You will see this coming around the side. This morning's view of it was this curve of the Sun and this enormous dark spot just coming into visibility around the edge. Huge, huge. And that's just the first part of the spot. There's more. So, the next couple of days, depending on what the smoke haze and everything in the sky looks like, we may have another very distinguishable naked eye sunspot. Also, I believe it's pretty magnetically complex, which means that there could be a lot of flare activity from it too. Yeah, I don't really know what else there is. I'm sure there's stuff I'm forgetting, but most everything that's happening is just waves of distraction. Keep you occupied from thinking about other more important things. While all of this other crazy shit is happening all over the place on every front, we are yet still receiving further confirmation of the abject corruption of the current administration in charge of the White House, It's going to stem back to previous administrations. No one with a right mind, a half a brain, expects anything to happen because of this. And the dangerous part of that is that everyone becoming aware of the fact that people at the top are going to do all this crap and just get away with it is going to trickle down to where people getting pulled over for speeding tickets are going to cap the cop and say, you have no authority. This riots, where people push back against the riot police and the riot police become outnumbered, is going to become every city in the country, because they're not going to crack down on these political criminals, the regular petty criminals. The average, as it were, blue collar and red collar criminals are going to realize, the people in general are going to realize, that when there is no equal application of the law does not apply at all. And all of the people who let it go, just, well, there's, what are you going to do? They are as culpable for what will happen, for the complete collapse of law and order, for Mad Max, Fury Road in America. The people that just let it go, that don't say nothing about it, oh, what do you want me to do, are just as culpable. But the bottom line is the consent of the governed is required in order for any legal authority to be had. And when the people being governed do not consent to the treatment they receive from the government collapses. And again, double standards, unequal application of the law negates the rule of law. Do you know what the word negate means? It means deletes. The authority that any written law, that any decree by any lawmaker, by any governor, by any elected official becomes farts in the breeze when Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, if he's actually guilty of anything. So far, it doesn't really seem like he's actually guilty of anything. But of course, remember, these people in charge right now are classic projection people. They will blame someone else for what they themselves have been caught doing. This is not a political sides thing. There's bad guys everywhere, right? But as long as they continue to peddle influence, to sell us out to other countries, to look after anything but our best interest, and do not get arrested, tried, convicted, executed. If that doesn't happen, there is no rule of law. We've already been teetering. We've been teetering for a very long time with this, we'll get some low-hanging fruit and we'll let the people know that something's happening. Folks are becoming aware of the fact that this accomplishes nothing, this fixes nothing. And when nothing is fixed for a long enough period of time, the problem becomes so endemic that it cannot be repaired. It can only be destroyed. That seems to be the goal of someone, whether that's a foreign country, whether it is extraterrestrial or spiritual in nature, I don't know. What I do know is that not doing anything makes it worse. We're going to come to a point where people are going to just walk into your house and take your shit. And you'd be like, hey, you can't do that. And they're going to be like, there are no laws anymore. And at that point, it's a choice that you have to make. You going to waste this person in your house, or are you going to let them waste you and take your stuff? Are you trying to survive? Is this a house full of things for your family? Like, what's going on? And you won't be able to call the police because the police will be busy dealing with things like food riots and large squads of people just going around bashing up businesses and general destructive unemployed behavior, right? And then businesses are going to have to close because of it. And when businesses close because of it, all y'all's paychecks vaporize. Do you know what vaporize means? Is that too big of a word? Can we understand what vaporize means? It means up in smoke. If you can't work your job, you can't get your money. You can't get your money, you can't buy your food. You can't pay your bills. You can't feed your family. Your power goes out, your water goes out, gas goes out. You can't force it to stay on. It's a mechanical system that somebody knows how to turn off. They send people out to turn it off. Either the people trying to turn off the water are going to, get shot at, or they're going to succeed. People go without. People become even more desperate. Then people who might have been defending their homestead end up instead having to go raid. Or just a suggestion. What if we all took to the streets and demanded the ouster of every corrupt member of government? I know Congress is like, well, there's a process and we got to go through the thing. And you know what? The magical thing about the process is that every single time that they attempt to bring someone to justice using Congress, it takes just a little more time than what they have to get to where they need to be. And as such, they reach their time limit, and election time comes, and they have to campaign, and they have to try and get reelected. And the truly important things go by the wayside over and over and over again. It's been like this for decades and decades. If you want an example, look up Jason Chaffetz. Look up Trey Gowdy. These guys would tear down in questioning in Congress. But everything they were going after, Hillary Clinton, Benghazi, stuff like that, just never quite panned out. Just never ever quite got far enough in the investigation where they could really do anything, or all of those witnesses just showed up dead. For decades. These guys were doing it just after September 11th. 20 years ago, we thought people were going to be arrested for this extreme political corruption and selling us out. And nothing ever happened. And then we moved on to the next cycle. And then eventually a different political alignment takes the majority. And instead of going after political corruption, we cover it up and engage in more. So maybe a few suggestions for what people can do. Stop paying your taxes. Everyone, stop paying your taxes. There are 350 million people in America, and the IRS has about 190,000 agents. That means there are something like 100,000 of each of us to one of them. If everybody ceases paying their taxes en masse, the government is automatically crippled, paralyzed. Ooh, we need the food. No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't need food stamps. We don't need welfare. What we need is that the apparatus designed to maintain the infrastructure of our society is run honestly, cleanly, fairly, transparently, without foreign influence or corruption. And as Congress says, as the left says when it comes to police and their concept of brutality, you have to hit them with the purse strings. And the way to do that is to force our country to default on its national debt due to an absolute lack of funds, because all the people put zero claiming zero on their income tax forms. No money withheld from any United States citizen for the purpose of paying off the interest on national debts. And when they try and come and collect, you shoot them. They cannot arrest all of us. They cannot kill all of us. The alternative is keep watching your TV shows, keep your head in the sand, and allow Dementia Joe and Cocaine Cowboy freaking Hunter and Word Salad Kamala and Corinne Jean-Pierre with no talent whatsoever. Her list of accomplishments are immutable traits. That's like me taking credit for the color of my hair. keep letting them do what they do. Keep saying nothing. Keep doing nothing. Keep giving them money. I'm sure it will all work out, won't it? Positive. It'll definitely work out. So I've already told you things we can do that do not involve shooting. We take their purse strings. We take their money away. We cease obeying them. Because otherwise, we are submitting to tyranny, to dictatorship, to a government that demands things of us that it will not hold itself accountable for. And any of us who say, hey, now, wait a minute, will get punished. That is what happens if we do nothing. Think about it. Rewatch this video. Think about it. How many different ways, without violence, can you neuter the government? That's what we need to be getting on as a country, as a society, as a people. Every single American owes it to future generations to nip this one in the bud. Think about it.